Great time at VivaTech today. And raise your hand again with me if you're really keen to hear my three fabulous, absolutely fabulous panelists. And say yes, please.
Yeah!
Thank you. So with no further ado, I am going to get into the talk. Ethel Cofie from EDEL Consulting. Ethel, please introduce yourself briefly. And then I have a question for you about your experience in helping companies fund themselves, startups. What do you notice? What do you have to share with us?
Okay, so I'm Ethel Cofie. I have essentially two jobs. So the first one is running a digital products and digital transformation company out of West Africa called EDEL Technology Consulting. And then in between, I run Women in Tech Africa. Women in Tech Africa is the largest women in tech group on the continent. We have membership across 30 countries globally, including Ireland and Germany and a couple other places in the diaspora. That's it. Did you want me to add any more?
Okay. Rebecca Enonchong from APPSTECH.
Yes. I'll go to the next one. Hi, how are you? My name is Rebecca Enonchong. I'm founder and CEO of APPSTECH. So I've been an entrepreneur for 19 years. This is 19 year of my company. And I've spent most of my working life trying to promote technology entrepreneurship in Africa. And so that's a very short description.
Thank you. And Cédric Atangana from WECASHUP, CEO of WECASHUP.
Yeah, I'm Cameroonian, I'm 26, CEO of WECASHUP. We are a B2B Pan-African payment gateway. We are the largest B2B payment platform in Africa today. We cover 27 countries and we enable online merchants to accept all the existing local payment solutions in Africa: cash, mobile money, bank wallet, credit and debit cards, and cryptocurrencies through a single API. So yeah, that's what we do.
Thank you very much, Cédric. So Ethel, what are the hurdles, the obstacles, the difficulties that African startups are facing? How do you compare them to Silicon Valley startups, for example?
A couple of weeks ago, I was invited as part of an advisory board with the Ghana's vice president to Silicon Valley, essentially to go and see and learn and understand. Now, my views on Silicon Valley and Africa trying to replicate Silicon Valley it's actually a mistake. We have inherent advantages in Africa. Number one, the youthful population, right? So the ILO says, the International Labour Organization says, by 2050, 40% of the world's workforce is going to come from Africa. That's a strong advantage we have. There are ways in which we do things that give us an underlying advantage in which to build technology ecosystems. And we do ourselves a disservice when we stock and barrel, and a lot of entrepreneurs across Africa do this, stock and barrel, go to Silicon Valley and rip off the Silicon Valley model and try and come and run it in Africa. Number one, you're not going to get $1 million in your first year in business, right? So that model doesn't even work for you. Before, like all the other things or the nuances of working in Africa. So that's the big thing for me in terms of the challenges of entrepreneurship, especially technology entrepreneurship. We're doing ourselves a disservice of going to Silicon Valley and ripping off Silicon Valley and thinking that that will make us successful.
Thank you, Ethel. Rebecca, do you want to add your insight as a very seasoned advisor to companies?
I like that, seasoned. I like that. I like seasoned. It's a better description than what most people call me, like
Good.
Mama Tech in the Cameroon community. I think that I agree so wholeheartedly with Ethel. We have our own solutions that meet our requirements. And one of the frustrating things is that Africa technology is still seen through the lens of European or Silicon Valley tech. I spend a lot of time in Silicon Valley, and don't mind my accent, I'm a Cameroonian too. And I can tell you that they're no better than African entrepreneurs. They have a better ecosystem. But the entrepreneurs that are from the African continent, if they were given the resources, if they were given the trust, could accomplish so much more than some of these entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. And I just want us to believe in African technology for Africa, and that includes investment. The previous panel, one of the issues that we have, and we applaud Andela's success, and we applaud all of these other organizations and companies that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars today, including Jumia and so on and so forth. But if you look at who is heading those organizations, they're usually white people, you know, and not local Africans. So for some reason, there's still a lack of trust. And we're seeing some change, you know, but the change is slow.
Thank
right?
you.
We're seeing some change, though. Yeah.
Thank you. So the main word here is trust, and you've just pronounced it. So Cédric, your experience of starting WECASHUP, having won all these prizes, and yet, what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I think Rebecca just pointed the right word. What I wanted to talk about is trust. You know, I'm a Cameroonian. This is my 5th year in France. So I didn't, you know, I was born and raised up in Cameroon, and this is my 5th year in France. And we went to the top universities. We were the best. Polytech Marseille, INSEAD, Stanford University. We were the best. And today, we have been struggling so much to raise funding as a black African entrepreneur. And this is not normal in 2018. I'm sorry, but it's not normal. And this issue is on both sides, because the first side is global entrepreneurs should now start trusting African entrepreneurs, because we have the assets, we know the ground, we are from these countries, and I always say when people come from the outside and they come build technologies for us, generally they come and they don't understand, the local realities. We are from there. We have the competencies, we have the right skills and everything to build top billion dollar companies. We have everything. And now we are still untrusted. And I want to reassure the global investors that we are ready, we have everything to build startups and companies that can challenge those from Silicon Valley. And that's the mindset that we have in our company. We don't just want to build a payment gateway for Cameroon because I'm from Cameroon. No. We don't just want to build a payment gateway for Africa because Africa is still small. We want to build a global payment platform. And I'm sure that there's a lot of other African startups with that same mindset. And that's the mindset to push forward. This is for the global investors. And then I have something for the African investors. It is like we are still stuck in the past. We had the slavery and all these negative aspects that we are still suffering from today. And Africans, it's we stay in the past. We are in 2018. Now we need to start trusting all the African tech founders. African investors, they don't even trust African tech founders. That is crazy. Because, for our experience, we are, I said it is my 5th year in France. I finished my school at Polytech Marseille. I graduated in 2015. And, from my personal story that I won't say here again, we created the company right after school. I did my final internship in our company. I did my final internship. I was the tutor and the student on my, the internship agreement.
Wonderful.
And then I did this now 3 years, we have been working very hard. We are African tech founders based in France, building tech for Africa first, then the rest of the world. And this is not very like trusted in France, because they say, okay, you're a French company, okay, but you're building tech for Africa. It's not interesting.
So
then
you're
you go
not trusted in France,
in
and
France,
you're not trusted
and then when
by
I go out
African
to Africa, I say,
investors
hey, you are a French company. That's why we don't invest in you. We are building a global company. We don't want people to invest because I'm an African or because just forget about me. Look at my business, look at my numbers, look at my results, look at everything, and then invest. Not because I'm not trying to become your friend. We are trying to do business. Today we are business, business, business. The social part of it, let's just forget it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Cédric. So Ethel, is gender an issue as well?
Oh, wow, is it? So I started Women in Tech Africa because I started out my career in London. And I was most of the times the only black woman in the room. I was the only woman and I was the only black person in the room. And so when I left to come back home to start my company, one of the things that was important to me was to provide what we call the girls club, right? So if they were playing, if the guys were playing golf or, in the bars after work, passing each other jobs, promotions, and whatever, like I wanted to create a group of kick-ass women in the technology sector that would do exactly that. So I started with 70 women in Ghana, and we're really lucky in that we had like Ethel, who runs Google, and Otima, that ran Microsoft at the time, who came and were really great supporters. So from 70 women in Ghana, in 3 years, we're now across 30 African countries. And the vision is the same. Kick-ass women, growing each other, and funding each other, passing each other business, and doing all the things that has been done for centuries. And gender is definitely an issue, because even now, with my years of experience, I still walk into a room and still get the, oh, right, so you're the CEO of the tech company. That still happens. And my lifelong work, I think, is just making sure that at least the generation that comes after us does not have to deal with as much
hardship,
trouble as, as we did. Yeah.
Thank you. Rebecca, do you have any insights to add?
I think that the gender issue isn't an African issue, and we've imported it from Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley has a very long way to go on diversity in tech, both in terms of gender and in terms of race. And we're almost importing that because the picture, the image, and the perception of a successful entrepreneur is a white male, right? And so having to break that mold, even in the spirit of our own people, that is of Africans themselves, is very difficult, because they will always say, oh, he's African Bill Gates, or he's an African Mark Zuckerberg, because that is for them, that is what success looks like. And so we need to make sure that success looks like me, look like Ethel, like Cédric. And one extraordinary thing, and I want to talk about this because earlier we talked about the Africa Digital Program and AFD that was announced by Macron today. AfriLabs, which is a network of 90 tech hubs across the African continent, is a partner to that project. And AfriLabs is a real testament of where we can come from in terms of diversity and gender diversity on the African continent. When AfriLabs was started 6 years ago or 7 years ago, the entire board of directors was male, all but one was white. And today, the entire board of directors, these are people that are elected individually, is African women. We have one man for diversity, and he's the board secretary. So I think that, I think this is, for us, this is an example of Africa leading.
Yes.
And yeah, maybe Silicon Valley can learn from us.
But is it surprising? I mean, Cédric, you would know, Africa is thriving with women in tech. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. My co-founder, Annie said, you know, I don't even have words like that. She's just brilliant. Like, I don't know how to describe her.
That's a beautiful testimony.
She's powerful. And in our team, by default, you know, people are talking about diversity, all this stuff. You know, we have 15 people today in our company. 15. Coming from 12 different countries. Cameroon, Kenya, Congo, Egypt, France, Germany,
wow.
Brazil, Vietnam, China.
Fabulous.
We are diversity by default. And we have women. My co-founder, she's the one, you know, driving our financials and everything. She's the most powerful woman I know.
Amazing, amazing.
By default, we are diverse in gender and in, you know, in race and whatever. So,
wonderful.
Yeah. And we want to teach that to the rest of the world. This is something that we are taking from Africa because we were born like that, we were raised up like that. And we want to teach the world how to do it. Yeah.
So reverse tech is definitely on its way.
Amen.
Yeah.
What are the other solutions that you would suggest for funding our African techs?
I think that we've started a solution. The best thing is for Africans to fund Africans, right? And I think that's why the presentation earlier, Tommy and the African Business Angels Network, and which is trying to promote technology, the investment
yes.
by Africans into Africans, and I think that's how it starts. You know, when I look at how the tech hubs evolved over the years, we started in 2010. There were like 8 tech hubs across the continent. Today there are over 400. And so now now that the entrepreneurs have a place and a location to start their startups, we now need to build that ecosystem out on the funding side. And that's why an organization like ABAN is so critical.
Absolutely.
Because what they're doing is that they're training, I said we are doing, because I'm a co-founder of ABAN. But what we are doing is we're actually training people to be angel investors, because all throughout the years we've been working with entrepreneurs and telling them how to negotiate a term sheet and how to do evaluation and those things that are important for investment. But on the African investor side, many people that have the money don't have the tools and the skills. And so that's one of the things that ABAN is doing. And just in the 3 years, as Tommy described, just in the 3 years, we've seen a tremendous growth in that, and we need to see more of that. There are some African funds that have come together that are run by Africans, managed by Africans, that are investing back into the African continent. I think that's where we need to go.
Thank you, Rebecca. Ethel, one last word.
Yeah, I'm with Rebecca on this. So there is a lot of people that do have the funds to invest who don't understand, and so the more and more, so ABAN, VC for Africa, the more and more organizations like that train homegrown angel investor networks, right? The joke someone made to me was, we can't, there's no way we can have the Facebook of, the Mark Zuckerberg of Africa because we don't have the angel investors of Silicon Valley, right? And so we need to grow and train more in-country, in-continent investors.
Thank you, Ethel. Cédric, your last word?
Just one experience, our experience. We have been struggling so much to raise funding that we had to reinvent the way to raise funding. As I said, in France, it was so difficult for us to raise funding because the project was targeting Africa, and then Africa, because we are based in France, they don't fund us. And then we just contacted our friends, and we got supported by top African CEOs. We have around 20 top CEOs as investors from Africa. African CEOs are supporting us, helping us move forward. And this is something that is really sad because, we have been struggling so much that we have friends, people from Cameroon, from Nigeria, from Kenya, from Senegal. They are based in Africa and they are funding us from their own money. And this is really sad. I'm asking where the angel investors are. I'm just asking where they are.
That is the definition of an angel investor.
Yeah.
They're taking their own money. Angel investors use their own money.
Yes,
that's who is giving you money as angel investors.
Yes, but they are students. They are students funding. We raised 2 million euros from LinkedIn.
Wow, wonderful.
2 million euros.
Congratulations.
And this is amazing and sad at the same time because, we have like more than 50 investors, people who are contacting us, guys, you're doing great, we want to invest in you. I'm based in Cameroon, I can wire you money and send you, etc., from China, from India, from all over the world. And, African investors invest in tech founders in Africa. And global investors trust us. We are good. Come, Africa is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Cédric. So you heard it. Africa is good. Our tech startups are great. We need investors. Please come. You've heard it. You've heard the story from these 3 fabulous, fabulous panelists. Thank you very much, and have a good lunch. Take care.